Yeah. I'm gonna buy that one and that one. All of it. I need it all. Do you want it though? Where do I begin? I see the hate, they don't wanna see me win. Think deposits, I got more coming in. Top down, throw the money in the wind. I don't want it all. Heard he scammer, had to switch up the accounts. Moving paper, gotta call him.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Educators Roundtable. We're going to continue our conversation around education equity. So being an educator, a former educator, I should say, or I continue to be an educator, but I work with school districts in a different capacity. I work with school districts in the capacity of IT, curriculum development, leadership training. And the biggest concern that I have is the concern that I've had for years, way before I got to this point, was whether or not we were actually giving our students the skills or educating them in a way that can transition into a career. I remember a time when we had different career paths, vocational courses built into our curriculum. And it was really a great opportunity for students to expand on whether or not they were college ready or whether or not they just wanted to go straight into a career. I remember when I returned here as an educator working at Rufford High School here in Detroit, Michigan, we had an automotive program where as a teacher, I could pull in if I had a flat tire or something was wrong with my car. While I was working, the kids would use it as an opportunity to learn how to do repairs on a vehicle. So the question remains now with this big trend going into IT and me being a CEO of the only female Black-owned IT consulting firm in the state of Michigan, this is a major issue. We're having problems now filling positions in IT. And it's not just here in Michigan, it's globally. So you have to start to ask yourself the question, are we preparing our students to jump into a role that's so badly needed? I mean, just think about it. They're playing a lot of video games, so they have some experience. And with social media, all of us have turned into a social media guru. So of course, you guys know, I'm going to welcome in my co-host, Shannon. What's going on?
Not a whole lot. Awesome to see you this evening, Birdcat. Just here, and yeah.
So I mean, but I mean, you're not in your regular spot because right now it looks like you're like in this amazing coffee shop. Where are you at tonight?
I am in the World Trade Center in New York City. And,
oh wow!
This podcast was so important that I said, hey, let's stop what I'm doing and make sure I have a Wi-Fi connection. So, yep, I'm here. And ready to
I just want to say, viewers, if you guys know Shannon, you know how comical that is right now. So our regular viewers, I know you guys are probably laughing because Shannon's hilarious. But Shannon, you know what? We talk about this a lot of times because you being a former superintendent, and especially in the role that you're in New York school district, we talk about that, whether or not our curriculum that we're providing to students right now are transferable skills into a career.
Yeah, and I'm going to probably prematurely answer that question. Do you want me to jump into that right now?
No, because that's our larger question that we're having tonight, but we do talk about that, right? Constantly.
And the short answer is we've been just discussing this gap, and I'm glad that we're having this conversation because it's a part of a much broader conversation around skills in general that are transferable that we're teaching kids or not. So absolutely, I'm excited to be at.
And we're going to hit a lot of those too. So listen, not only do you guys have Shannon and I tonight, but we have a person, and I'm going to tell you, this guy, I'm not going to call him the guru of cybersecurity, but what I am going to tell you is that this guy is definitely an expert in that area. Jermaine Stanley is such an amazing person. He's really homegrown from Detroit. I just want to throw that out there. He'll give you more about that, but he's homegrown from Detroit, but he's out on the East Coast, and he's doing some amazing work in cybersecurity. He actually has his own consulting firm, which a lot of African Americans don't understand is graciously needed right now with everything that we're doing in IT. But he's also the vice president of ISACA. And he's going to give you more information on ISACA and all the amazing things that he's doing. You know, also, Shannon, he talks a lot in diversity, equity, and inclusion. So this guy is like, he's knocking him out the park all over the place. But I really love him. So like Jermaine, hey, welcome to Educators Roundtable. How are you?
I'm all right. Hey, Christine, thank you very much for having me on your show. And Shannon, I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Good to meet you, brother.
So look, I'm going to tell you right off the bat. Let's talk about your poster before we even get started. Your poster's like just so like in the frame that we just have to discuss even before we intro you. So can you tell people who did not go see the play, the musical, and all of that what's happening?
You talking about Hamilton behind me?
Yes, yes, the Big Hamilton poster.
Yeah, but that was a few years ago before the pandemic, and it's nice artwork here in my office. So, it's good. It's good backdrop. You know.
It's an amazing backdrop.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jermaine, please tell everyone who you are, what you're doing, and all the different roles that you play in the organizations that you're a part of.
Wow, where can I start? So you mentioned at the top ISACA. Actually, I'm the vice president of ISACA Greater Washington D.C. currently. ISACA is a global organization headquartered in Schaumburg, Illinois. For those who know where that is, ISACA has 220 chapters around the globe. We're the largest in the world, close to 5,900 members in the D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area.
Love it.
Yep, and our organization does a lot of things with regards to cybersecurity, IT risk. We do a lot of conferences. We provide a lot of educational, CPE, continuing professional education credits for professionals both in the private sector as well as in the federal sector. And we also have relationships with various universities here in the region, which, I love the topic. So it's going to hit near and dear for me as far as our conversation goes. As far as the diversity, equity, and inclusion front, yes, I'm out there talking about it, trying to keep the momentum going. And the key here is diversity, equity, and inclusion still matters. Even though we've been talking about it, it's been coming, it's been to the front for the last couple of years. But if anything that the pandemic has shown us is that we still got a lot of work to do. Plain and simple.
You do. It's a lot of work to do in that space, and I work with a lot of my clients right now are with DEI. So I do a lot of integrating the program, helping them design the curriculum, working collaboratively with stakeholders internally and externally. And also, I back it up with IT because it's nice to have the conversation, but in order for you to have a great program, you really have to have an awesome IT infrastructure support that learning management system. But you know what, Jermaine? I'm a little bit surprised. You look up the fact that you're from Detroit. I don't know what happened. Like you just let that total shout out about that.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. I'll talk about that. Hey, I'm from the east side of Detroit. I am from the hood. Full stop. Okay. Pershing High School, class of '88. Go Doughboys.
Okay, so Shannon, what school did you go to?
Well, first off, I'm not going to hold Jermaine's high school choice against him. I'm a West Side fella, Cody High School alumni.
All right.
It's all love.
Cody comment.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going to say I'm Northwestern.
All right.
Oh, really?
I'm Northwestern High School, yes.
Why was I thinking Redford?
I know. Exactly. Yes, in Northwestern. I mean, I definitely tested and got into Renaissance and Cast, but Northwestern was the only school with a music program and a planetarium.
Yeah.
So I just had to go for it. I ended up going to college, of course, to be a chemist, and I was a chemist for years. So it paid off for me. I loved it. Awesome. So, Jermaine, I want to tell you that we have a lot of, and what happens on our podcast, we view live, and then we have a lot of students who, watch later with a lot of topics, and they put in a lot of questions and send a lot of questions to me. So before we end, I definitely want to let you know that I want to put your information in so students can reach out to you who are interested in going in a direction with cybersecurity. So listen, guys, I know we got a lot to cover, so I want to make sure we start off just really hard hitting this. And feel free to put anything in comments that you guys want to ask in relation to cybersecurity. If you guys want to just ask Jermaine a question, feel free to leave anything in comments, and we do post them live. So, Jermaine, Shannon and I, we have topics that we talk about regardless whether we're on air or not. And one of our major concerns on a regular basis is whether or not we are providing our students with the skill set that are transferable to careers. Because a lot of our students are not college bound, right? They're going to go right from high school into a career path. And one of the things that I mentioned to several students, you're playing video games. And I said to one guy, I said, do you know what the skill that you're using to play this video game, you can actually go get your aviation pilot certification to do drones, to operate drones. And he was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "You could be a drone operator right now. You could be delivering packages for Amazon. Like, what are you thinking about?" Right. So those are the things, Jermaine. And the first question we have is, do we think our K-12 education curriculum or after school programs are aligned to industry trends in IT? Do you think they are? Or do you think we have more work to do around that?
We always have a lot of work to do on the education front, don't we?
Yeah.
Uh, the three of us being products of DPS, we know for a fact that not everything is created equal.
Yeah.
Right. I fortunately live in a county here, Montgomery County, Maryland, and we have a lot of good resources. Some of this is one of the richest counties in the country, right?
Okay.
In this region as well. And I can tell you, living in both, my kids have gone to school primarily in this region. Yes, there's a lot of work to do, and I don't think that it's aligned right now. I can tell you this, though. There are organizations out there that are trying to do a better job at this, right?
Okay.
Even the employers, right? And you talk about, and we could touch upon this a lot tonight if you want, the alternate paths to careers.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
In the second half. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think there's still a lot of work to do there, primarily because if you think about AI, machine learning, data science, those are the jobs of the future, right?
Right.
Cyber's still there. Cyber, there's not enough people to fill all the cybersecurity jobs. We know that.
Right.
Right. But you couple that with AI, machine learning, data science, those things. This is a good time to be up and coming. Is what I'm saying.
So, like, if you're talking to a kid that's in K-12, what skills right now are transferable for them? So when you think about that big picture, our kids really need to home in those math skills. What are some of the things right now that you can pluck out of the K-12 curriculum that would be applicable?
Yeah, good question. So when I think about transferable skills, I go back to when I was coming up. It's not necessarily the X's and O's, right? The technical aspect of things. It's those soft skills, right?
Such as
being able to look a person in the eye and have a conversation. Think about it.
So what if you're a person that can look somebody in the eye, but you totally suck in problem solving or mathematics? Can you still go into cybersecurity?
Right. You could. Anyone can be trained in cybersecurity if you have the deductive reasoning, right?
Okay.
That engineering. If you get into some kind of engineering, that helps with that deductive reasoning. Math, music. You can come from music.
Okay, wait a minute, Jermaine. How do we translate music into cybersecurity?
Well, music is, and those folks who are music aficionados.
I am. I play like a different instrument.
they might laugh at me, but music is based on beat, rhythm, numbers. Think about that.
Okay.
Computer science, coding. You kind of get into the numbers, right? Data transfers. When you're talking about transferring data across the internet, there's nothing but ones and zeros. That makes sense?
Okay, so when you look at it from that perspective, students do have a huge opportunity to advance in those areas. So if you had a student right now who was in Detroit Public Schools, what is something that you would advise them to do as far as their education?
I would say if they can, talk with their counselor, see if they can get a mentor that may be in the industry, if they know someone. It's good to have a mentor, right? And that helps in a multiple scenarios. One, you're learning how to network.
Okay.
That's one thing. Two, the person who is mentoring you has a vested interest in seeing that you're successful, right? And I go back to something my grandparents used to say to me. Jermaine doesn't hang around dummies, right? So you hang around smart people, hang around people who are smarter than you. Get to know them. Don't be shy.
Right.
And as I was saying earlier, being able to talk to somebody. Think about the generation that we have in front of us. These kids never have lived in a world without the internet, without high-speed access, without mobile devices. So To them, a friend is someone they talk to you on their phone through social media. Put the phones down and get back to the brass tacks of, having communication,
A
open
real
dialogue.
a real conversation without
Yeah.
swiping right or swiping left, right?
Yes.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
So Shannon, like you're in like the largest school district in the United States. What does it look like for you guys over there in New York in relation to transferable skills to IT? I mean, he just said music. So if you got a music program, those kids are potential cybersecurity people.
Agreed. I would say that there are, and he hit the nail on the head, Jermaine. I mean, critical thinking, collaboration, really effective oral and written communication. As you really think about kind of how to access and analyze information, those are all skills that could be really taught in any course, but they're highly applicable to that technical aspect of kind of, and again, I know nothing about cybersecurity or IT or any of that, but I do know, and you said it earlier, Jermaine, if you can kind of think and problem solve and process the technical aspect of the work, you can get to a student. So I think that it's important, and there's that's a focus in New York City schools, definitely.
Yeah. And if you allow me to add a little bit to this, now, this is not it K through 12, but think about this. There's a lot of reskilling efforts going on
Mm-hmm.
because people lost their jobs during the pandemic and things of
Yeah,
that nature. So a lot of folks are reskilling into cyber.
they are. They're definitely bringing
Yeah.
in and coming from cyber. Hey, Charles, thanks for watching. Good evening to you as well. He's also an educator. So
Awesome.
it's, I like to see the educators join the conversation for sure. You know, that's like a major conversation. We talk about potential transferable skills that students can have to even go into any type of career path. And I know for us, all of us being, DPS graduates from back in the day, I will tell you the education that we were provided, right, has shifted a lot. It's not the same. I mean, back in the day, DPS was turning out high performing people, and as you see, we're all over the country, right? And so I'm saying there's a shift. So I mean, right now, what is something that you would say to an industry, a person from the industry, IT industry? What would you say to a person like myself and Shannon who are still in education? What is one thing that you would say we should start looking at doing to help shift the mindset of our students in the direction of getting careers in IT?
Great question. And I have a little bit of a side bit here before I answer your question. It's all about trajectory,
Okay.
right? If you know how trajectory works, say an asteroid gets bumped off course, right?
Mhm.
Or water, how that kind of diverts.
Right.
Um, it's all about who comes into your life, right?
Okay.
And some of my biggest influencers were my teachers.
Wow.
So the mindset is do what you do well, connect with the students, but give them other avenues, opportunities, bring in, special guests who are in the cyber industry, right? Something that we do here in the Greater Washington D.C. Area for the chapter of ISACA is we have relationships with some elementary and middle schools as well,
Oh, wow.
and we go in and we have conversations about careers, about what is cyber, and you'll be surprised that at least here some of the kids are up on this stuff. So being savvied with technology is not a bad thing. It's just
Right.
you have to be smart about how you use it, right? So if I was a teacher, I would be definitely trying to connect with organizations like ISACA. There's a chapter in Detroit. I know the folks. I know the leaders there, so let me know if you need me to get you in contact with them.
That
But
would
there
be
are other
awesome.
organizations out there too that are interested in connecting with school districts. I'm also a board member of oneintech.org. You can go check it out. We are all about closing the digital divide when it comes to those who have versus who have not,
Mhm.
right? And we look at youth uh, in tech, women in tech, or she leads tech, and we lead tech, and that's the diversity,
Right.
angle, right? So organizations like those, like ISACA, then its foundation, which is the philanthropic arm, One in Tech, that's something you can share with your audience as well, Christine. Uh, be connecting with those types of organizations because they have budget, they have volunteers. There's a lot of these
Okay.
organizations of volunteers that want to give back. A lot of them grew up in those regions that that they're serving.
So Jermaine, do you have anything in New York for Shannon?
There's a chapter in New York, a chapter in Jersey for ISACA you can connect with. I know those folks as well. Because I'm part of the
Okay.
leadership, chapter leaders, we all are connected.
Okay, that's awesome. So
We're definitely
Shannon,
gonna have to.
I know that would be great for you guys, especially up there. So Shannon, you and I talk a lot about, the digital divide. And with you guys are a bilingual school district, like really immersed because you go the entire state of New York. I mean, you can go across the street and it's like you're in Little Italy and you walk 5 blocks and you're like in Mexico real quick.
What's, you know what? It's interesting that you say that. I'm sitting at a table. At one table, there was this group of folks. They were speaking Italian. There was another group of folks directly adjacent to them. They were speaking Spanish, and it's not unusual to walk down the city street and hear almost as many different languages as people that you walk by. Absolutely, it's incredibly diverse, and everything that goes out in the New York City public schools, home to parents, is translated into a number of different languages.
Wow.
Just so that there's a kind of ease of access to ensure that everyone's in the loop. Absolutely.
So with you guys, then the digital divide is huge
It's
because
massive.
of okay. That's
It's
what I was
massive.
thinking.
It is. And I think it's largely infrastructure.
Right.
Devices are not the issue.
Okay.
But it's connectivity, and it's ensuring that those it's infrastructure. It's
Right.
old buildings, it's old lines, and
Right.
our children who live in poverty tend to live in those areas that are the least of the network in most instances, unfortunately.
Yeah,
So
if you
I'm
don't
going
mind,
to tell
I
you
like.
just real quickly. So Dr. Spinelli said there is only an 8% Black population in cybersecurity compared to 9.2% Hispanic and 72.6% white. How do you bring educators along changing that paradigm? That's to you, Jermaine.
Yeah, I'm processing it because you have to start early. That's one thing. Build the programs that allow you to start to get kids involved. So, for instance, the state of Virginia,
Mhm.
their whole K through 12 system has cybersecurity built into the curriculum.
Wow.
So that's one way. Start early,
Right.
right, and then connect with other organizations.
Right.
As I mentioned, One in Tech has a relationship with a group called Bits and Bytes. I've talked to you about this before,
Oh
Christine,
yeah.
and it's about training youngsters on what cyber is and
Mhm.
what careers you can go to as far as the path. It's called cyber sleuths. So
Okay.
things like that are out there. There are organizations across the country that are doing these things. These are ones that I know of that I am affiliated with.
And I like that that's something that we can kind of look at and share with other educators. Shannon, one of our listeners said the noise where you're at in the New York Trade Center is a little distracting. They just
Well,
wanted me to share that with you.
let me mute myself until a question is asked of me.
Shannon, I can mute you. You're fine.
Look at that.
Okay. So I've muted Shannon so that way it's not distracting. I'll unmute him. So big picture, and Shannon, I'm only kidding with you. I need you to freely be able to communicate with me. That's how we do it. Um, the thing is, we look at the picture about what we're doing, and I'll be totally honest with you. I think for me, I got into IT because of a guy that I was dating in college, and that was Desi. So hi, Desi. And so Desi was like this super smart guy, and I just started following him and going to his classes, right? And the next thing you know, in my third life, I end up being, this IT guru lady who now has an IT consulting firm in Michigan. So it's what I'm saying is that those are transferable skills if you really look at it from that perspective. So folks, we have to take a commercial break. We will be right back and we will be joined by Jermaine and Shannon.
You're like a circle that floats around me, keeping me safe and sound. And when I fall, you tied a rope to me. You're blessing me every day.
Hey guys, welcome back to Educators Roundtable. If you're just joining us right now, we're having a conversation with Jermaine Stanley. And Jermaine Stanley is in cybersecurity. But not only that, he's from Detroit, Michigan. He's a product of the DPS school district. So we're having a conversation whether or not students are being prepared to go into career paths in IT. We're in a dire situation where people need to understand we've got to start building those skills early on. But Jermaine made a point. Music is a transferable skill to cybersecurity. I didn't know that though when I was in school and I was playing that flute and that saxophone with Ernie Rogers. How did I know I would be getting into tech? Shannon, what about you? Did you play an instrument?
No, but I'm currently endeavoring to play acoustic guitar. I'll keep you posted.
Are you serious?
Absolutely.
Oh my God, I look forward to it. Maybe I can get like a virtual concert.
I got you.
Right?
Yes.
I don't know. Totally. So Jermaine, welcome back. Did you play like any type of instrument?
Oh yeah, trombone, tuba, violin.
No way.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's the real deal.
absolutely. And another sidebar here. Although I am from Detroit,
Yeah.
I learned those skills in Highland Park, Michigan. I lived there for a while.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you, Kim, who I work with, she would probably love to hear that Highland Park provided you with some skill set over there.
Y'all gotta tell folks. Y'all gotta tell folks what Highland Park is. And
Okay, Jermaine. Well, Shannon, you tell them what Highland Park is.
I don't even know if I could do it. Only Jermaine could tell that story.
Yeah,
but
take it from someone who lived there. I'll tell you. So Highland Park, believe it or not, Detroit has two cities inside its borders. One is Highland Park. And Highland Park is famous because that's where the Model Ts were made. That's where Ford Motor Company, Henry Ford, opened his first plant. A lot of people don't know that because it's been closed for years. The other one is Hamtramck, which is more of a Polish settlement. And if you like punchkis and Fat Tuesday, that's where you go to get some of those nice pastries or compo.
You got to tell them what a punchki is because
yes,
man, it's a big dough ball, like a big donut ball, a donut hole with jelly, custards, cream, whatever.
Deep fried.
Yep.
Yeah. So my question is, are those transferable skills if they're working at the donut shop? Can we transfer that over to cybersecurity?
Anyone can learn cyber. It's not rocket science.
I'm just saying, we need to be clear.
Demystify that right now. It's not that hard. If you get the training, you'll learn it. There are certifications out there you can get.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an educator and you really want to up your game with your students,
right?
Partner with a certification school.
So that's what you're saying, and we're going to talk more about that later. That's one of the things that I cover when I go out to speak at IT conferences. I go through all the different IT certifications you can get. So we're going to talk about that a little later. One of the questions I wanted to throw out there, and again, if you're watching, you can also put questions and comments. When we talk about cybersecurity and we talk about a lot of the IT career paths, I don't think people understand what that means and where they can find employment opportunity. I mean, for me, owning an IT consulting firm, I work in healthcare, I work in automotive, I work in finance, I work in education, because for the back end for us, it's all the same. It's just a different industry, but for us, it's just all the same. And I don't think people understand that. It's one of the only jobs that you can actually take it anywhere. So why don't you talk more to that, like how the positions are global positions because of the area that we're in?
Yeah, there's a ton of things out there. I mean, if you are interested in protecting an environment or a network from the bad guys, the hackers, then you can get into the threat intelligence space,
Yeah,
right? You can become a cybersecurity analyst or security analyst, or they're different flavors, but they all kind of get at the same thing. And what the threat side of the house does, it goes out and hunts for vulnerabilities on your network, right? So you can do
right.
stuff like that. You can be threat hunting, or you can be on the back end and you're all about compliance and making sure that certain systems are locked down the way they should be locked down and users have the appropriate access, right? So that no one has more access than they need for the job that they need to perform, right? So
Now
those are,
that's I like that the what you just said. I think a lot of times when people think about cybersecurity, Shannon, don't you think about somebody that does hacking and less of a process person?
Absolutely.
So when you
Absolutely.
hear cybersecurity, what do you think about, Shannon?
Interestingly enough, the first thing that I think about is the ransomware that school districts and municipalities have been kind of held almost as hostage. The data, all the information. I've been thinking about that, and we don't have a conversation about cybersecurity until
We
school
don't.
breach generally, right?
We don't. Now I'm going to tell you. So, Jermaine, why don't you talk a little bit about that? About how we're held ransom for some of the security softwares that's out there. That's kind of funny because a lot they're tell school districts, and this is so true. Um, I'm going to tell you just from my experience of working with school districts, they will hack your finances, like your direct deposit, and they can have your monies redirected just by sending you an email from like your college or your university where you're an alumni, and they'll get pertinent information from you. And next thing you know, well, I don't have a paycheck sitting there any longer, right? And so that does happen. So, real quickly, before you answer that question, let me insert this to Dr. Spinelli. And thanks again, Dr. Spinelli, for watching tonight. He said he's right. EdTech Group provides cybersecurity and other IT credentials for anyone age 13 and up, no diploma required. So, you guys know Dr. Spinelli has been on our show twice. She's also on the 5S to Love with the ladies, Real Talk. So, if you want to get that information, she can provide that for you and connect you because EdTech Group is her company. She's the CEO of EdTech Group. Thank you, Dr. Spinelli. Okay, so what are your thoughts behind what she are concerned as it relates to the growing need for this, but schools feeling like they're being held hostage
Mhm.
because of all of the ransomware that they have to purchase.
Yeah, and again, as I said earlier, all things are not created equal, right? So here in Montgomery County, they have a good process. They've got the resources. They can go hire the talent
Okay,
to protect their network. So if I'm talking to the CISO or the CIO of a particular school district, you're talking to them about what do they have in place. Do they have the budget? Because
right.
if you are a board member of a large organization or a large company, that's the topic of a lot of the board members these days, or the boards of directors. How much money are we going to invest in our cyber? Because that's the next frontier. As we know, that's where the new battlefront is.
But you know what? I will tell you this: a lot of school districts don't have that. They
They
don't even
don't.
think about cybersecurity. I'm like, you've got student social security numbers, you've got all kind of pertinent information, you got their staff's account information, their social security numbers, and so many school districts have been hacked because of that.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I mean, isn't that shocking to you that they didn't think that they needed cybersecurity? So, what would you advise the school district to do right now in relations to cybersecurity?
Well, one, you got to talk about appropriations, right, at the state level, right? Start talking to you're connecting with your senators and your representatives. And I'll talk, about different states around the country. Again, others do it better than others. Some states have more than others. But I can tell you that if you start there, you start that conversation, you start to see those dollars go into those coffers of those school districts. As I mentioned before, the state of Virginia has, and this is 5-6 years ago now, Christine, invested heavily in the school districts from a cybersecurity perspective, not only from education and certifications, but also how they lock down their networks. So you start with the legislators, because that's where the money comes from when we talk about departments of education, right?
Right.
Reach out to the feds, see if they have any programs. And of course, nonprofits who are willing to work with you to provide you additional services or additional resources, partnerships, those types of things are all on the table.
You know, and I'll be honest with you, I know a lot of superintendents here, and I think that's a huge area that's overlooked. They're looking for funding for so many different areas, and they're not thinking our school district needs security measures put in place to support what it is, or to protect what it is that you currently are managing. I know one of the things that deeply concerns me is that I know for a fact a couple of school districts who are using LMS platforms, and you have people who have hacked into those, and they've done some pretty obscene things during class time. And so again, I try to say to them numerous times I've said to them, I have an IT consulting firm. Come and talk to me. I can help you. And and I think a lot of times they think it's very costly to integrate platforms like that in order to protect their school districts. But if they don't, what are some of the major things that could happen if they did not, or they continue to not protect that type of confidential information?
Wow. So many things can happen. So many bad things. Because you become a big target.
Yeah.
Right. And you become a big target for state actors. And these are other countries, other governments who have teams and armies of hackers that are trying to penetrate our networks here in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can lose your data. Your data can become exposed and being
compromised
or sold to the highest bidder. Ransomware, right? Hold you hostage.
Shannon, did you hear that ransomware? Did you hear that?
Yeah, shut you down, like literally lock you down. What do you call it? Distributed denial of service, DDoS attack. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So Shannon, you should be into this, because New York, you guys have the largest school district. I mean, honestly, some hackers would love to get in your system.
Yeah, and I definitely don't want to say that that's the likelihood of that is pretty low, but there are entire divisions of folks that are dedicated to securing the data.
The school district. I would think you guys have the largest IT department in the country for that supports the school district. You have to. You guys.
It's the largest. It's the largest everything. I mean,
that's what I'm thinking. Oh my gosh. Because I know when I was at DPS and I was a CIO over there, I had a staff of 132 people that I managed every day.
We had 135,000 students. I'm sorry, 135,000 employees and up to 1 million students.
So, right.
Yeah, it's
huge, because I had 30,000 plus students and almost 50,000 staff. And so I always felt like I didn't have enough IT support to manage that. Honestly, I really didn't feel like I had enough, but I made it work, right? So before we go into our salary ranges, folks, we have to take a quick commercial. And when we get back, we're going to talk about the salary ranges for careers in cybersecurity, and not just cybersecurity, but just in IT in general, just to give you guys a better idea of the opportunities that are out there. You really want to start looking at how to transfer those skills into cybersecurity positions.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, welcome back. You already know, if you missed the first half, you guys know who my co-host is. It's Shannon. Shannon, you guys already know all about Shannon, what's going on with him. And we also, one thing you probably didn't know is Shannon is learning the acoustic guitar. So maybe we'll get a little rendition probably by the summer. And we're going to see how those skills transfer over to something with IT. So our guest tonight, though, is Jermaine Stanley. And Jermaine Stanley is our cybersecurity guy. He's like all over. He works on a lot of major contracts. But not only that, he's just super, super awesome. And he is a DPS grad and from Detroit who did a little spell in Highland Park. Okay. And we talked about, what is it? Poochies? What is it called?
Punch keys.
Punch keys. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just say this. Whenever Fat Tuesday comes around and all of that, I can't do that. It's too much jelly in those things.
Definitely takes you off of your plan, right?
Totally. And if you don't know this, I'm in the middle of a total chunk down. So we can't be spilling over into that. Okay, folks, what we want to talk about, everyone's talking about career pathing opportunities and things like that. So the salary range for people in cybersecurity or just in IT starts off in 30,000 up to 250,000. That's a huge gap there, but it's all depending on your level of expertise. And more importantly, if you miss the first half, you can get a job in IT, and those skills are transferable anywhere. So you want to think about that. What other career can you go into that you can go to healthcare, to the automotive industry? You can work in finance, that you can just go anywhere globally, even if it's to a foreign country. IT is IT. So just think about that. So Jermaine, how many job offers do you get? Because I know you're like one of those guys that's hard to get a hold of. You're like the master cybersecurity project manager.
Yeah, I try to, keep them at bay, right? So, you get maybe 2 or 3 a week, through your LinkedIn profile, or if you have a friend, word of mouth, that kind of thing. And the one thing, as I said earlier, it's a good time to be in a career in cyber because it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Think of it as, if you remember back in the day, at least from my parents are baby boomers, right? So it's like, pail, lunch bucket, I'm a plumber, or I'm an electrician. Those are skilled trades. Yeah. That's what this is, in my opinion. Cybersecurity, working in these positions, the various ones that are out there, as you indicated, the ranges are wide.
Right.
That's a skilled trade. You can go ahead and get certified like you can as a plumber or electrician, right? So, yeah, go that route. I love it.
I like that. So I just want to say, Shannon, do we know that IT was a skilled trade when we were in school? Nobody shared that with us.
No.
I think IBM was like the biggest thing moving when we were in school, right?
It's a genius mindset though, and to think of it like that, I think would be so beneficial, and it would also be wise for vocational technical programs to begin to think like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what do you think the advantage would be if they made that shift into providing more opportunities in IT, as far as vocational perspective?
I mean, you would have entire just strands devoted to AI, machine learning, like for example, or networking.
Right.
I don't want to go too deep into it because it's just not my world. However, I think that many of our current vocational technical programs just don't meet the needs of the industry today, and they're as archaic as the schools that they're put in place to serve, unfortunately.
Right. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. Especially, I told a person, I said, when I was growing up, we didn't have a watch that all you have to do is say call home and it will call home. So I'm not understanding why you don't understand we need more IT people, because we have cars that can drive themselves, right? So what I'm saying is I'm not understanding why school districts are not seeing this as a learning moment in movement, saying we've got to make this shift, that teaching a traditional K-12 curriculum is not really going to help us in the long haul. We're not preparing students to walk through that door and say, hey, I can do coding. I watch a lot of YouTube things on documentaries, and I ran across this young lady who does Python coding, and she's a teenager. So she began to break down on YouTube lesson 1, lesson 2, teaching students how to code using Python. Jermaine, was that like Oh, that was like an OMG moment that a kid figured out, okay, let me help other kids right in this space.
Yeah. And that's the other thing about the kids of today. They're all about community and helping others, right?
I
The
like that.
millennials for sure. But
Yeah.
the younger kids, they are also let me help others, and put that out there. And there's other examples out there, as you indicate, of people who are coding. I know a woman, and I'm not gonna name her name. She has a like a coding for girls kind of thing going
Is
on.
that Bits and Bytes? Or
No,
is that, who is that?
this is a black woman, and she's here
Okay.
in the DC area. I've lost contact with her. She was on a contract that I worked at before,
Okay.
and she told me one day. She said, "Look, I not only show them how to code, I show them how to make money.
That's
Coding,
amazing.
the entrepreneurial side of
Right.
it." So I was like, "Wow!" Now that was an OMG moment for me right there.
I'm going to tell you, we talk a lot about what we're doing in order to help students make that transfer. But, Tuskegee Airmen and Dr. Smith, who runs the Tuskegee Airmen Museum here, he also has an aviation program. And I know this because I wrote some of their curriculum that they're using. Um, they do an amazing job just trying to help kids understand how if you get your aviation certification, like level 1, whatever that first level is, you get your drone operator's pilot license to operate a drone. And he's teaching kids this literally in like middle school to do this. And I was just so in awe when I tell you he's an amazing instructor. Of course, he's a pilot. And he does do pilot certification to actually be a pilot of an airplane. But the mere fact that he loves spending a good majority of his time, he also teaches at a college level, but he loves spending a good portion of his time teaching the course to the students. And I was surprised we didn't have more students enrolling in that program because he does such an amazing job. Again, that's Dr. Smith, Tuskegee Airmen Museum, and that's on the east side of Detroit at the Detroit airport. So I'm going to tell you, well, not the Detroit airport, but the older airport that's out there. But he does such a great job. And you guys can look him up online, the Tuskegee Airmen Museum here in Detroit, and sign up for your courses. Dr. Smith does an amazing job. So when you think about big picture, and I know kids are all about that money, that's why I wanted to put up salaries. When we look at our training and gaining opportunities, what do you think about the requirements that students need to meet? And I don't think a lot of students understand you don't have to go to college. You can go through a certification program.
Right. And so all the stuff that we've talked about regarding certification programs, that's putting the entire go to school, go to 4-year college and university on its ear, right? Yeah. The key here is, and this is to everyone out there, and I'm sure the doctor who posted about
Dr. Spinelli.
Dr. Spinelli will know this. It's all about being employable, right? So, for instance, when we are connecting here at ISACA Greater Washington, D.C. with folks at the university level, they're asking questions about how do I connect? How do I get a job? How do I transition from where I'm at now? Right. How does that translate to a job? Right?
Right.
Well, a lot of people, and I'll give you another example, Google, companies like Google, believe it or not, they have their own certification program.
They do. So does Amazon.
Yep. And if you become certified in their products, you're employable to them.
You're employable.
And these are some very large companies.
They're large companies, and they have their own programs. And I'm going to tell you, and I say thank you all the time, Dr. Spinelli. My son, who I've been trying to bring over to IT, finally made the transition. But her son, who has an IT company, is actually going to be working with my son as his mentor, but he's also paying for his IT courses for him to get certified in certain areas in IT and then go to work for him. So I'm going to say it's a great opportunity when you can do things like that. And my son was really focused on, he says, well, Mom, I still want to go to a 4-year college. I said, you can do that. But when you finish this program, you'll be making 6 figures. So it's up to you. Like either way, I support you, but I think you're going to be okay. And so him going and making that transition, of course, me being his mom, I'm loving it. But one of the big things is that he can get the Amazon certification. He can get the Google certification because they're in the course catalog, right? And so that's the thing when you talk about those skill set and how you can jump into going through a certification program and coming out employed in 6 to 8 months versus 4 years.
Yeah.
That's a
And,
big difference.
and when you go into those situations, right, they may or they may not ask you to go get a degree.
Right.
Because typically you see on a job description, bachelor's degree of this,
Right.
it's X number of years of that. Well, the problem is when you're coming out of the 4-year universities, right? I used to work at Deloitte for a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you come in, you're green. You go sit at a client, you don't know what to do. You're afraid.
Mm-hmm.
You have to build up confidence along the way. And that takes years to do that. Where if you're going into these certification programs, typically you're probably, if you're a student coming out of high school, you're probably the youngest person in the room.
Yeah.
So you're learning from the adults on how to interact. Remember, I was talking about connecting with people, and you're more mature and employable when you do step into those ranks of a big company.
And I want to say to you, that is so important. A really good friend of mine, and I connected you with her. Her son is going to MIT. He's an African American. And so we had to find him an internship. And luckily I knew someone here in Detroit in cybersecurity. So here he is, a high school student who's already been accepted to MIT, is so excited to be doing a week of on-the-job training with someone in cybersecurity. He's so excited. He's
That's
even
great.
more excited at the opportunity to come out to DC and meet you guys in your ISACA organization because I've been raving about you. But the thing is that he knew when he was in middle school, he wanted to be in IT. So, but because he got accepted to MIT, of course he's going. I mean, that doesn't circumvent the certification. We
Right.
need you to go to MIT because it's MIT. So I feel like he's like the next great thing that's going to be coming out in 4 years. And I told him, whatever you're ready to invent, you can intern at my company every summer. That's not a question. You can intern anywhere in my company. He said, really, can I? said, of course you can. And if there's other companies that I'm partnering with, you can intern at their companies because I want to make sure I keep him immersed in IT because he's such a genius kid. But again, I think a lot of kids don't know you can jump into those careers. So Shannon, when you think about the opportunities that you guys have out there, on the East Coast for your students in New York, what are your thoughts on that? Oh, here, let me.
Had unmute. Good to go. There are numerous opportunities, especially within the CTE strands that are offered. I still don't feel like it's enough, and I think that every high school should offer certification opportunities to students senior year, right? Just to really, and I think just rethinking what we're offering students and the way that we're offering it, because we all know that approximately 70% of the American population does not have a college degree.
Yeah.
And so these are opportunities that for young people to go out into the world of work and do some really good work very early on and begin to develop skill sets and become certificated and move out. And so I think that school districts en masse should really kind of rethink kind of how we offer programming to students, especially that junior senior year.
I agree with you 100%, especially, your students have an advantage over other students in the United States. You guys have the major companies, corporations. I mean, you got Wall Street sitting there. So, I mean, I would totally see them being major hits in IT if you guys had 3 strands in your school district. Like you guys could really kick some butt in the IT world because you have all the major companies there. I just want to say fashion design is another area where I think people are overlooking when it comes to IT. A lot of the work that they're doing is digital. Like their designs and drawings are now digital. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. Their draftings are now digital. So when you think about, design and we think about AutoCAD, we look at from our perspective, but a lot of those skills, and I try to, convince kids, don't go into graphic design so quickly. Think about some other areas that you want to look at. You get more money being a person who can actually work AutoCAD. I'm going to say, to be honest with you, to draft perspectives for architectural firms, to do engineering designs, all of that's around AutoCAD. So I tell people, don't be so quick to do those graphic design. So in closing, Shannon, what is one thing you would leave with our students as it relates to IT career pathing? What is one thing you would leave? You want to leave them with?
I would absolutely lead with the fact that it's not just one thing.
Mm-hmm.
There are a multitude of opportunities within the industry, and if you have the ability to think creatively, if you are a good communicator, if you're a problem
Right.
solver, there are opportunities. If you're hands-on, maybe it's networking and wiring, right? If you are a little bit more abstract, maybe it's cloud computing, right? But there are opportunities for all, and I think, and I want to say thank you to Jermaine for really helping me rethink how schools and school districts can offer programming to students in order to make this happen.
Mhm.
I think you just made Shannon a hit at the next staff meeting with the chancellor. Honestly, he's a hit now. It's happening.
Got to help out a fellow Detroiter, right?
Exactly.
Michiganders rule, right? There we go.
Okay, so Jermaine, what would you leave us with?
Wow. I mean, the world is yours. You always hear that. It is so true. Kids, speaking to the students here, students, get your head out your phones. Instead of being a consumer, learn how the technology works. Learn how this stuff works. I talk to my kids all the time about this, right? Educators, continue to do what you do best. Connect with those children. Be the guiding light. Be those trajectory changers. A lot of these kids, especially in the inner city, are in situations that they have the best part of their day is going to school.
Yeah.
Think about that, right? That's the best part of the day. They go home, it's something going on, right? So do that. Do what you do best. Connect with those organizations. Implore, reach out to your congressmen and women. Give us more money, right?
Give us more money.
Yeah, appropriate more funds to these curriculums that we talked about.
And Dr. Spinelli said, Jermaine, I commend you for your accomplishments in cybersecurity. She also wanted to make a point. We were talking about degree path. She says, my son is the president and owner of Immersion Concepts LLC. That's the company I was saying to you that my son's going to be working with, is her son. Thank you very much again. And with the degree from DeVry, his company had over 60 million in revenue in federal sector, and a 4-year degree isn't required today. So I just want to make it clear, this is who my son's mentor is, and this is who he's going to work for. So to be totally honest, I want people to understand it is so important that we begin, like you said, to stop being consumers and be on the other end of this. So a lot of times I think we overthink things. So before I say goodbye to everyone, Shannon, you're a rock star. I know you have to go. You're at the Trade Center. Thank you so much for making the time at the coffee shop. Of course, I would have liked a tour of the coffee shop, but we're live, so I know we can't do that later, Gator, on that one. And Dr. Spinelli is also sending me a private text. Shannon, she wants to connect with you. She's in New York. She wants to connect with you and do whatever she can do to help you guys offer those certification programs through her company. She said she would be happy to oblige that.
I like that very much. Absolutely.
Okay. And I'm going to say, Jermaine, thank you so much for joining us on Educators Roundtable. It's always a pleasure. You and I talk a lot. So, of course, we're going to continue to talk. But I just want to thank you for making the time. I think it's so important that our African-American males and females see products of Detroit Public Schools or from an urban education sector who are in IT. And trust me, a lot of times I'm the only woman in the room. A lot of times I'm the only Black in the room. But I'm okay with all of it because I don't mind being a trendsetter, right? Because I just got to go in there and make it happen. But I like the fact that I can always pick up the phone and call you, and you'll get the squad together and we can really talk through potential projects or problems or concerns that I have in IT. So I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate you. And I really appreciate what you're doing in IT.
Thank you very much for having me on, Christine. And it's always a pleasure, as you said, to collaborate, to, just share ideas. So I applaud you for that. I applaud you for the show. I love your show.
Thank you.
Have me back on soon one day.
I'm going to tell you, I'm going to have you back on. And, I have a couple senators coming on over the next couple of weeks. I'm really excited. They're going to talk about education, their concerns in education. And I'm also going to have a really, really, really famous person come on who's in the White House, working in the White House right now. I'm not going to tell you who it is because I want people to tune in, but that is coming up and I'm really excited to have them on. I'm really excited they watch my podcast and they want to be part of the platform. So I'm even more, like, wow, that's amazing. But yeah, I'll have them on, but I'm definitely going to have you back. And actually, I want to invite some of the other guys back too, because I think it's important that our African-American males see what African-Americans are doing in IT. So it'd be great to have you and Troy and some of the other guys on as well to talk about what you're doing in your companies and the impact of cybersecurity makes overall with the country. I mean, it's huge. It's much more than what people think, So thanks again for joining me. And I'll be talking to you probably in a little bit anyways, off air. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Have a great evening.
You too. So guys, in closing tonight, I want us to understand some of the things that we talked about tonight. Education is vital. We're not saying that you need to supersede college because, of course, I have multiple college degrees. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that we're in a crisis in this moment where we have a shortage of IT people. And it's very imperative that we look at alternative opportunities for you to become employable. And that's the only thing we're talking about is employable. Employable means that the opportunity for you to gain gainful employment to find financial stability or obtain financial stability for you and your family. So if doing so means that you can do that through a certification program, then I would really love for you all to take a closer look at that. But again, thank you for joining me here on Educators Roundtable. Next week, we have a surprise guest, and I'm not going to tell you who, but when you watch it, you're going to love it, and they're going to be speaking on education globally and what's happening with us across the world. Education equity, education lost or not. See you next week.